All right, and we also heard Donald Trump, the administration telling the Venezuelan interim President Delcy Rodriguez that the regime must kick out China, Russia and Cuba to sever economic ties. What do you make of those comments?
I mean, this is just Donald Trump, telling us in the national security strategy that they've released a few months ago now, exactly what the US plans to do in this hemisphere. And that is extract where it can its competitors. And it has named those countries. And they've taken action. And I think this will be business as usual throughout the Western Hemisphere now. Greenland, I think, is somewhat of an early kind of gambit to make sure that the Chinese footprint does not further entrench in the Arctic, because in many ways, the Arctic Ocean is opening due to a warming climate, and there are much more contentious activities occurring there. And if we can we are seeing the emergence of a new global artillery between Asia and Europe via the Northern Sea Route or the Northwest Passage. So it makes sense for the US to want to be securing both ends of the Arctic kind of new transport corridor. And that involves having a very secure presence in Alaska, which is at one end of this transportation corridor through the Arctic, but also securing the other end down in Greenland.
We're hearing some people saying that places like China and Russia, there's no place in our hemisphere for those countries. We've heard people talking about the China Belt and Road Initiative. What can you say from that angle?
I mean, I think what's happened over the last, 48 hours is we as a global community or a liberal Western democracy community have been shaken awake to realize that Trump means business. And it's no longer a case of traditional allies or respecting partnerships or even international law. Those come secondary to what the US has reprioritized its national interests to be. And we know that the China issue has been playing on Washington's mind in a sort of great power strategic competitive sense. But when it comes to the Arctic, of which Greenland's more of in that region, and that's your northern, sort of your Western Hemisphere problem, you have Russia as well. But geography doesn't change. And the reason that the US has had a military footprint on Greenland since 1950s is because of the Soviet Union being a threat. So the threat perception in terms of Russia in the Arctic is a bit different because geographically they are an Arctic player, but the sheer emergence of Chinese military capabilities and naval assets that are appearing in far places, including the Arctic Ocean, has definitely, I think, shaken Washington.
All right, and we've got to wrap it up, but just quickly, so if this happens, what do you see from a negative and positive aspect?
Negative and positive. So, two ways I think we're going to see this play out. First of all, there will be a discussion going on at the moment between Greenland and particularly the Greenlandic opposition party there to see how the US can take the place of Denmark, which currently basically runs the Greenland economy and upholds the country. The process of Greenlandic independence is something that I don't think we should look at separately. It is an enduring issue, and there have been mechanisms available for that to occur for almost 20 years. So it is a process in which we have, on one hand, the Greenlandic people are utterly committed to leaving the Danish kingdom. So the US, I think, has just hastened the pace at which that will occur.
All right, we really appreciate your analysis and time,
Thank you.
Doctor. Thank you so much.